2020, the year of the pandemic. COVID hit the world hard. On March 13th, the US declared a state of emergency. After that, things really went downhill. Unemployment soared to the highest rate since the Great Depression, and with the number of cases reaching 70 million with a death toll of over 1.5 million worldwide, the shutdown began. Let's look back at the best and worst horror movies to be released in the darkest of years. While the quarantine saw us shelter in place, some of these titles help pass the time and keep our minds off the horror that became our reality.
Adrian is dead. He's not dead. He has figured out a way to be invisible.
The Invisible Man, perhaps the best horror movie to come out in 2020, this one stars Elisabeth Moss.
Are you okay?
The film follows Cecilia, who receives the news of her abusive ex-boyfriend's death. She begins to rebuild her life for the better. However, her sense of reality is put into question when she begins to suspect her deceased lover is not actually dead. Moss turns in an excellent performance, creating suspense and bringing a refreshing take on the Hollywood cliché of domestic violence. Not to downplay this horrible aspect of our society, only stating that we get to see the other side of it. From the victim's standpoint, from a victim that won't let it control her life, one who will fight back to gain her freedom. Space. In the year 2050, Dr. Ada Gray and her fellow astronauts aboard the Yudo fight for survival after an accident leaves them stranded in deep space. The slow pace of this one makes it a hard watch for most horror aficionados. Watching crew members communicate through faulty video feeds do no favors for this film. The cast seemed to phone in their performances, leading to an already crazy plot falling flat. With low ratings across the board for this one, Space experienced a failure to launch.
It's me, Norm. I got your letter?
I never thought I'd see you again.
Come to Daddy follows Norval, played by Elijah Wood, a young man trying to find himself. When he receives a letter from his estranged father requesting a visit. Hopping on the next bus, Norval ends up at his father's secluded and scenic waterfront home. Maybe reconnecting with his father will give Norval the emotional fulfillment he has been lacking. Or maybe shit will go crazy and he will descend into madness. Instead of a little father-son bonding time, Norval finds himself in a waking nightmare. The origin of the movie came when director Ant Timpson's father passed away, and his father's partner thought it was best to bring him home after embalming as a way for him to spend time with the grieving family. The week was spent with the corpse in an open coffin. Then, people that he didn't know came to pay their respects to his father, sharing stories of a man that did not seem like his father.
And welcome to Fantasy Island.
So, what's your fantasy?
Your life is about to change forever. I hope you're ready.
Fantasy Island, when the owner and operator of a luxurious island invites a collection of guests to live out their most elaborate fantasies in relative seclusion, chaos quickly descends. Starring Michael Pena and Maggie Q, when their fantasies become nightmares, they must unravel the island's mystery to escape with their lives before it's too late. The plot is what puts this movie on the worst list, being over-convoluted and filled with holes. Contradicting the movie's own rules, bringing up strange phenomena that you would like resolved, but for whatever reason are never brought up again. This one lacks substance and perhaps the final nail in any failed horror movie. It just wasn't that scary. Trust me, I know there are worse movies out there than this one, and if you enjoyed it, great. But for a major release in 2020, this list has much better options.
Cue the creepy dude in the mask.
Freaky stars Vince Vaughn and Kathryn Newton. After swapping bodies with a deranged serial killer, a high school senior discovers that she has fewer than 24 hours before the change becomes permanent. Millie Kessler, 17, spends her days trying to survive high school and the cruel actions of the popular crowd. But when she becomes the latest target of the Butcher, her town's infamous serial killer, her senior year becomes the least of her worries. When the Butcher's mystical dagger causes him and Millie to magically switch bodies, the frightened teen learns she has just under 24 hours to get her identity back before she looks like a middle-aged maniac forever. This movie brings the laughs as we watch Vince Vaughn take on the role of a teenage girl. With that being said, it still stays true to its slasher identity with plenty of scares. With creativity and gore to spare, Freaky lands on the best side of 2020 horror movies.
What is all this?
This is a ceremony to celebrate you.
Why would you celebrate me?
Because you're our fourth.
The Craft Legacy. This one just makes me question why. Why take a classic and remake it when it doesn't need to be? Why not be original? Why not make a witchy movie with new themes and name it something else? Well, friends, if we could answer that, we would see much more originality and creativeness. Unfortunately, we get this recycled nostalgia grab.
Did we just do some kind of loop?
How if we just...
Want me to drive? Such a joke. Because I think this is not possible. We can't make turns like this over and over.
We have gone this way, Tom.
Oh my god.
Vivarium. A young couple is thinking about buying their starter home, and to this end they visit a real estate agency where they are received by a strange sales agent who accompanies them to a new, mysterious, peculiar housing development to show them a single-family home. There, they get trapped in a surreal, maze-like nightmare. This movie has some star power with roles played by Jesse Eisenberg and Imogen Poots. This one may be a little overlooked, which is a shame. It's definitely more of a psychological mind trip than a straight-up gore fest, but that's okay. The dark comedy this movie starts with soon gives way to horror and despair. This one is bizarre but scores big for originality and trying something different. The Unborn. Strange, unexplained events unfold at an old factory. Two security guards must come to terms with reality. Tiffany as a future mother, and Joey who is secretly in love with her. But someone has other plans for both, as well as Tiffany's unborn child. With a plot that doesn't explain itself and an ending more predictable than the presidential election, this one lands in the basement of 2020 horror movies.
It's a wolf. Or maybe it's a werewolf.
No, let me just make this perfectly clear. There is no such thing as werewolves.
The Wolf of Snow Hollow. This is an underrated masterclass of storytelling. A creepy plot that holds your attention and leaves you guessing. Also featuring the late great Robert Forster, released almost a year after his passing.
I have every reason to believe that this monster will show up again tonight.
I won't ask you to pray with me because of the goddamn lawyers.
Terror grips a small mountain town as bodies are discovered after each full moon. Losing sleep, raising a teenage daughter, and caring for his ailing father, Officer Marshall struggles to remind himself there's no such thing as werewolves. Prepare to have your expectations blown away. For 2020, this movie stands apart from its peers, a singular anomaly begging to be watched.
The children are very special, Kate. They're thoroughbreds.
The Turning. A young governess is hired to look after an orphaned girl, but the return of the girl's problematic brother uncovers secrets from their past. A modern take on Henry James's novella The Turn of the Screw. This one stars Finn Wolfhard of Stranger Things fame. This movie feels like watching an hour-and-a-half trailer. Without giving a strong conclusion to the plot, this one did not achieve the potential that it had. With a slow burn like this one, you'd expect the ending to dazzle. However, all it did was fizzle. Hey horror fans, this is Planet Phobia, and that was the best and worst horror movies of 2020. So much about this year we would like to leave behind us. With that said, it also produced some decent horror. Let me know your thoughts on these movies and any others you'd like to see featured in a future video. Think about hitting that subscribe button, and I hope you keep enjoying your horror journey.